Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Time for another review. Today we'll be looking at the QJs by the Swedish company J's. And I decided to do sort of an unboxing. I have actually had these out and listened to them, obviously. But I decided to do sort of an unboxing because the entire sort of packaging is done in the same way as, well, it very well symbolizes the rest of the headphone, which is very, very perfectionist, I'd say. Which I can appreciate because I sort of have the same way of dealing with things. But here is the sleeve it comes in, and it has a frequency response back here. I'd say it might be deceptive because it looks completely flat in the base area, but which isn't entirely accurate, but we'll get to that. Obviously the measurement says so it is accurate, but that's not what you necessarily want to be hearing. But then you have this box, which is sort of a perfect square and fits extremely well with the inner box, which first time around I almost couldn't get out of there. Then you have this, which just says QJs on it, nothing on the back, just completely perfect again. And that is the manual, which is sort of more like an actual book, which is again equally sort of well made and shows off some of the internals and how it's made. In general, small bits and bobs about it. As you can see here, it is completely metal, aluminium, I believe, metal injection molding, yeah. And here you can also, actually, this is nice, here you can actually see the connectors. I really like these connectors which they have, which screw into place. They're coaxial, much like the ones that Shure uses. These actually, they're smaller and they screw into place, so they're even more secure fitting. And there you can see the mobile cable, which is, I believe, is an optional addition to it, but I have it over there, but I haven't actually really used it because it's just a bog standard sort of iPhone/Android cable. But then you get into this, which is the same again, sort of extremely well designed. This is the case which the earphones are currently in. Here we have, shall we see, this, and you can see underneath there it tells you the connectors and how you tell the sides apart. Slide this out here, and here you have the cable, which is neatly wrapped in here. Just take this off, put that in there, and just get this out of there. And the cable itself, you can see here, comes with angle connector, black, really hard plastic here. Strain relief, could be a bit softer, but does the job. Regular 3.5 millimeters. Then you have rubberized cable, very flexible and more or less completely impossible to make tangle. Hard plastic splitter here with strain reliefs on either ends, and this, which sadly due to the strain relief doesn't sit flush to the actual splitter itself, which I would have liked to see, but I understand why that would be difficult to do considering it has to slide up the actual wires here, and you wouldn't have been able to do that if it was to sit flush on the strain reliefs. Nonetheless, then you get to this where you see the perfectionism come into view again, where you have the connectors up here which have sort of little bits on the end here to protect them. You see in there, they are the actual connectors. I'll just put this down here, get that out of the way, and let's get the other one. There you go. Then down here we have another one of these little boxes, which is, you'll see here, that is the tips for them. They come with a wide arrangement of the regular sort of rubber tips and a pair of, I believe they are Comply foam tips, in this little sort of box where it fits. I'm quite amazed by the fact they actually made those things work and be usable, because usually that sort of stuff doesn't actually turn out that well. And here you have, yeah, you can see it says Comply there. They did it again where they label everything completely so you can actually tell what it is. And then we get to this. Let's just see if we can get it out of here. See there, tells you that the earpiece is in there. Delicate precision instruments, handle with care. Well, I dispute the latter of that, because you don't actually need to handle with care because it's extremely well made. The case says designed in Sweden. Not actually sure. Let's just check. Where are they actually made? Does it say in here? Made in China. Well, so designed in Sweden, made in China. But not that that's an insult in any way. Apple's products are also made in China, and those are generally very well made, so no problem there. And this is where the confusion begins, because you can see it fit in there, this side up, and when you actually have it, you'd imagine since that's flat, you'd have this side up, and it also has the text on it, but actually it is still round side down, which sort of makes it wobbly, but oh well. And that is how you're supposed to use it, because you can see here the lip of the case itself is on this side, so you want to keep it that way. But oh well. Here are these bits, which can be, you can't get at them, but you can see they are in there, and you sort of open that flap and you just get them out of there. There we go. So here they are. These are the actual, roll around in there, the actual bits themselves, and they have here the opening for the connector and the actual sound tube itself in the front, which you can unscrew the tip off there. I believe that's so you can change the filter. Maybe we can actually, no, yeah, that's a filter in there. I was wondering if you could even see the armatures themselves in there. It looks like there's a rubber seal on there, which is good. So yeah, you can just pop those back on. And it's nice long sort of tubes, and generally just heavy little metal pellets, if you will, sort of really nice. Nice feel to them. Then you take your cable, find the, see if I can actually tell it myself, these are just, well, solid. I'll just connect them, it doesn't matter for this purpose, but they are fairly difficult to figure out which is which side, but it is possible. You just screw them in there like that. See, that's one side, it's the other side, and I won't bother putting any tips on them right now because they're just completely standard tips, you know, so nothing too interesting there. So build quality extremely good. Now the sound of these is where it gets really interesting. Build is borderline flawless. The only problem they have is that the case is a bit iffy because it's bottom side up, and you need to be careful when you screw the lid on it because you may get the wire tangled up in there and risk ruining it. But it does the job and it's very sturdy. Sound of these is somewhat bright. Not bright in the sense that it's sharp, not at all. Bright in the sense that it doesn't have much bass. They are extremely resolving, very clear, crisp, sort of airy sound, with nice sense of soundstage for an in-ear monitor. As well, to be honest, most in-ear monitors these days in the higher end have that, but these aren't actually that expensive because these are, I can't remember the price of them in the international market, and remember the local, which you won't be able to use for anything, but they aren't that expensive. But sound wise they are quite close to, I'd call it flagship level in all senses, except that it doesn't have much bass. Treble and mids flow together, entire sound really flows together really sort of nicely, no sort of strange changes in levels as such. Nothing you'll notice unless you know the track really well, in which case you will notice that the low end bass is not really present. Everything's crisp and detailed, as I said, even the bass is very well controlled, but it's very low volume, if you will, it's rolled off. So if you want to listen to a very bass heavy genre, like EDM and other bass heavy music, then these won't really be for you. You can use them for sort of ambient and that sort of stuff, because it's not always that heavily reliant on bass, but you will still sort of miss it. Now for everything else that isn't bass reliant, sort of, or not necessarily anyway, like acoustic music, jazz, classical, that sort of stuff, these are brilliant. They are some of the best on the market, in my opinion, of the ones I've heard anyway, because they never get sharp or strident or in any way sort of annoying to listen to. They're always really nice to listen to, even with tracks that usually do get sharp, and that's without actually being rolled off in the top. As I mentioned, the treble is extremely good, so they obviously did their job very well as far as tuning these, and I believe the lack of bass may just be a case of limitation of only having 2 balanced armature drivers, which they do have quite a limited range each, as you can tell, although full range armature drivers usually they just don't perform as well as full range dynamic drivers. Usually they will be detailed, but they won't perform the sound signature as well. So I believe in the future, if they decide to, they could make a very, very good headphone if they took these and then gave them either another balanced armature driver or even managed to fit a dynamic driver in there somewhere. But they probably need a bigger shell for that. But all that speculation. So I'd very strongly recommend these if you listen to a genre that isn't sort of bass dependent, or if you can just live with them not being that sort of hefty in the bass area. Because they are so clear and so crisp, so detailed, so very, very good at everything else. And at the same time nicely designed and well built. But if you want bass, I'd look elsewhere. If you want a similar sound signature with bass, I'd probably look at something like the IE800, although that one does get a bit sharp at times. But that's that. I call these reference, just like they do themselves, reference earphones. Can agree on that, if you can live with that bit. So yeah, that's probably all I have to say about these. If you have any questions related to these or anything else, feel free to ask me in the comment section. And if you want more videos, please thumbs up, subscribe, all that jazz, you know. I'll probably make more anyway, just for my own catharsis, but it's always nice. That's it. Have a nice day.